Who am I?
Richard Kazimer, media veteran.
Why I got in radio is because I'm good with a knife.
Contributor in Perth, Australia.
Our friend Richard Kazimer in the United States.
How are you guys enjoying the 19th century? Is that working out for you? How can you say, I'm not making fun of you as a race, I'm making fun of you as black performers?
I think as a country, Americans are as patriotic as the most rabid UK football hooligan.
Who am I?
Richard S. Kazimer.
Balls Radio with Phil Dobbie.
So, net neutrality. Now, I remember President Obama made a big thing about protecting it before he became president. You know, he was saying that the net should be free and open for everybody, and we should be getting, the same speeds irrespective of what sort of content we're getting from it. But it looks like that might be one battle he's lost. The regulator in the US has sided with the internet providers and the content companies on this. Richard Kazimer has the lowdown on this. So net neutrality is an ideal that is just not going to be realized.
Well, as you say, our tech-savvy President Obama, he logged off this week on getting involved in the issue. He was hot and heavy on it. He handed the whole matter off to the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. That's the government agency that licenses and regulates all electronic media and communications in the United States. If you can imagine the ACMA with actual power, that's what the FCC does. Well, the FCC, in turn, this week, they proposed a few ideas that immediately created a firestorm among content providers and consumers. Now, if bear with me for a second here so we can explain to our fellow Luddites exactly what net neutrality is. It's the regulation that prevents broadband providers, those are the companies that provide internet service into our homes and businesses, from discriminating against internet content providers, the websites that we access for internet service. Now, the issue came about a few years ago when it was discovered that some of the internet service providers were slowing down feeds from websites and even denying access to certain browsers for those websites, including emails, because it competed with those media interests of the provider. For example, if an ISP slows down a movie website because it sees that that site is a threat to its own movie site, that's what net neutrality was all about. And now keep in mind that the majority of the internet service providers here in the United States, these are mega companies, and they have holdings in land, cell phone service, internet, radio, cable, television, broadcast TV, as well as these companies also make and produce movies and television. So these are mega companies. These aren't mom and pop internet providers. Well, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and the FCC put the reins on those companies squeezing off that source, that stream. If a cable company offers a certain gigabyte internet service, those gigabytes had to be consistent. So if a company says, we want for us to be your internet service provider, therefore we have X amount of gigabytes. So the Federal Trade Commission says, well, if you're selling it as such, you have to give them a consistent amount of gigabytes. Well, they made the rule, but then one of the companies sued in court and won and threw out the rule because they said the FCC was overstepping their authority.
It's a very grey area, though, isn't it? Because the question is as to whether you're slowing. I would have thought, so long as there's visibility, so long as you're saying, hey, look, we've got to deal with this company, so we're always going to guarantee you're getting good speeds when you're using this content. The idea of slowing down, it's hard, isn't it, to define what is slowing down. So you may say, look, we're prioritizing this traffic over this traffic because we've got to deal with these guys, and all this other stuff is next best effort, which means it won't come as fast. So we're not actually slowing it down, we're just not prioritizing it. So it's very, very difficult to define what's being done here.
Well, what happened this week is that the FCC, in an effort to compromise, they proposed that a policy that allows the internet service providers a super highway within their broadband service for websites to have unrestricted feeds, provided they pay for it, a toll, if you will, to the ISP, which now is ultimately going to be passed on to the consumer and may even put some of the small sites out of business. So in essence, what happened this week was the internet will return to full equality, provided you can pay for it.
All right, that's fair enough. Hey, look, we could talk for a long time about this because I think it's an interesting area. But just so, for example, if you've got a pay TV service like Foxtel, for example, here in Australia, which isn't delivered across the internet, but but increasingly could be. Well, it is in some places, but at some point they will say, we deliver it on cable. Let's just deliver it over the internet. But if we're going to do that, then we need to prioritize it for our customers who are buying from us. And why shouldn't they do that? So it's a complicated issue, I guess. But anyway, we're not going to solve it now. Cliven Bundy. You know, he's not got a lot of coverage over here, but it seems like a racist rancher from Nevada. Why would he be news? Aren't there lots of them?
Well, the right-wing media found a new darling to proclaim its national hero in the 10-gallon hat with a 2-gallon brain. He's a deadbeat millionaire Nevada rancher, Cliven Bundy. He's been grazing his cattle on government land without permission or payment to the government for a few years. And after a lot of requests from the Bureau of Land Management to Mr. Bundy to take his welfare queen lips off the free udder of the U.S. government, the BLM finally moved in to confiscate his livestock this week. And in doing so, an armed posse of Bundy supporters, otherwise known as domestic terrorists, prevented the BLM from taking possession of the cattle. Some words were exchanged, people were shoved. Bundy's adult son was tasered after he kicked one of the Bureau's canine dogs. Fortunately, no shots were fired, and the Bureau of Land Management decided the best course of action was to let the cattle go, call it a day, knowing full well that the government can seize all of Bundy's assets electronically with a simple court order. Of course, Fox News jumped on this. They hailed Bundy a hero in his standing down to the very government that Bundy publicly states he doesn't recognize or believes actually exist. Yet Mr. Bundy sees himself as an equal to America's founding fathers who actually created the same government he doesn't recognize, and also guarantees the constitutional rights of the gun-toting thugs who came to protect him. And who, by the way, admittedly, they lined up women as cannon fodder in hopes that they could capture on their cell phones the Bureau of Land Management shooting them in case anything happened. And, well, a few hours later...
Black women or white women? I would have thought,
they were white women.
Oh, good Lord.
The wheels, talking about the black folks, the wheels quickly fell off the bus when Bundy's clown car hit the internet with a video of a rambling cowboy Bocas pontificating his racist views. That made the rounds on national TV. Bundy was claiming, now I quote, Negro people were better off as property of white owners because then at least they had gardens and chickens to tend to instead of being dependent on the government, end quote. Once again, that's the same government that bipolar Bundy doesn't recognize or mind stealing its free cattle feed. Well, suffice it to say, Fox News and several teabag Republican politicians who were behind Bundy are treating him like, stepping in a fresh cow patty with suede boots. So he's fallen off the radar for now, but the guy is a certified.
And he will appear back on Fox News presenting breakfasts from January next year, I suspect. Georgia, talking about nutbags, Georgia. We've got guns everywhere, of course. We've seen a rise in mass shootings in the United States now. Obviously, it has nothing to do with the availability of guns. We've spoken about that in the past. It's just that there's some raving nutters who just coincidentally happen to have them. So if that's the case, why not let people take them everywhere? And that seems to be basically what's happening in Georgia now.
Absolutely. In the American South's inbred obsession with not only seceding from the Union, but also from reality, Republican Georgia Governor Nathan Deal, he signed a law this week. It's one of the most sweeping, and some say one of the most dangerous pro-gun rights bills in the United States. It's called the Safe Carry Protection Act, and it allows licensed gun owners, that's the operative word, license, to carry firearms into public places, including bars, nightclubs, schools, churches, government buildings, certain areas of airports, all, by the way, very common sites of mass shootings. And the good governor stated, no doubt from a script handed to him from the NRA, I quote, now, people who follow the rules can protect themselves and their families from people who don't follow the rules with guns. But wait, there's more. There's more, Phil. The bill takes place July the 1st. This is for all you vacation planners. So it also legalizes the use of silencers for hunting, clears the way for school staff to carry guns in school zone, and it also lets religious leaders have their congregations choose whether to allow licensed gun holders inside their houses of God. So praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
So when they say silencers are allowed for hunting, does it specify the hunting of animals, or could it be the hunting of parishioners or people waiting in the queue at the airport? I mean,
they do have a stand your ground law there. So if you feel threatened and you're carrying a gun, whether or not the person who you feel is threatening you, whether they are indeed threatening you or not, and you shoot them, that's perfectly legal.
Yeah. Oh, look, and I can completely understand why people in Georgia and, large parts of the United States feel the need to carry guns, because, of course, I am originally English. And the preoccupation in England is, when can we take back America? And, so it's very important that you're armed against that, because we are planning it. Listen, America, it's being planned quietly, in secret, and the Brits have been working on this for a long time. So, I mean, they're onto smart thinking there. Ronald McDonald, finally, has had a bit of a makeover. We're touching the serious subjects here, aren't we?
Well, the marketing wizards at burger icon McDonald's either had an epiphany or just fell for the biggest sucker punch in fast food history. Mickey D's not only took the character out of retirement this week, but also gave the clown a makeover. This is an answer to its competitor Taco Bell's latest ad campaign, co-opting real-life people named Ronald McDonald to push Taco Bell's new breakfast menu. Now, what's considered by a lot of people in the advertising industry as a knee-jerk reaction, and also a brilliant force of hand by Taco Bell owner Yum Brands, that also owns KFC, is the fact that McDonald's hasn't used Ronald McDonald for years. They've relegated that character to be used only in its charitable and philanthropic work with children's hospitals. They have been shooting for about a decade now for the adult market and not the kids. So this forced unretirement makes McDonald's rather go on the defensive again from critics who justifiably cited the company for using a friendly clown to influence children to eat bad food. In addition, the makeover was terrible. The McDonald's food sales are down. So what they did was they had Ronald ditch the usual high water yellow jumpsuit for now high water yellow cargo pants, a rugby shirt, and a vest. And they've also added a bow tie and a red blazer for formal occasions. And Phil, you and I are both in advertising, and nothing speaks to a 21st century audience like 1990
well,
fashion.
Who knows? I mean,
by the way, do you want fries with that?
All right, maybe we should leave it there. That's a nice point to leave it on. Richard Kazimer in the United States. Good to talk.
All right, brother. Take care.
Balls Radio with Phil Dobbie. What's really going on?